We continue now at the top of Daf 25a Aleph in Meseches Nazir. This is Nazir Daf 25a. On the previous summit, the Gemara brought the Mishnah in Me'ilah, which talks about a Nazir who separated money for the karbonos that he's going to bring at the end of the Nazirus. And then the Nazir died. And so the Mishnah said, if the money wasn't designated yet for specific karbonos, like the Ola, the Chatas, the Shlamim, etc., so then in that situation, what we call Mo'os Tumim, so that money is Yiplul in a dove, it's used as a donation to the Beis HaMikdash. They would use that money to bring carbon Olas on the Mizbeach in the summertime, so the Mizbeach would never be bottled. There would always be something on the Mizbeach. And so the Gemara now asks, but isn't there money, the value of carbon chatas is mixed up in this money? So therefore, how are you allowed to use money which was designated, even though it wasn't designated specifically for chatas, but the money in general, overall, there's definitely money among this money, which is for carbon chatas. How can you use that money for carbon ola? And the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, halacha hi ben Nazir. This is a halacha, specifically by Nazir, you're allowed to use the money. Rashi says, halacha hi ben Nazir, kach dahoel ustumenhein, afal pishumur ravenhein yiplul l'nedav. It's a halacha, since it's stumen, we haven't yet designated what money goes for what, even though you have mixed in there the money of chatas, still it's going to be yiplul l'nedav. Reish Lakish says, it's learned from the pasuk, l'chol nidreim, or l'chol nidvosam, it says for all nidarim and nidavos, for all of these donations, HaTorah Amar, what the Torah is saying is, Moser Neder Yehei L'Nedava, that if you have extra, let's say a person makes a Neder, he's going to bring something to the Beis HaMikdash, but he has extra money, that can be used for Nedavar, for these kind of karbanos. Rashi says, Moser Neder Yehei L'Nedava, v'hachanami here also, Kevan Dahani Mos Lo Tzrichi. It's the same basic idea. You have money that was designated for something that's no longer needed, Shekvar Meis, because the individual already died, Haveluhu Moser, that's also called Moser, it's the same as Moser Neder, V'yipilu L'Nedava, and so therefore it's used for Nedava, V'ein Choshen, there's no concern for the value of carbon chatas that is among them. So that is a machlokas Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. What's the reason why we're not worried about the dmei chatas that's mixed up? The Gemara says, B'shalom Rabbi Yochanan. I understand according to Rabbi Yochanan. Damar halacha hi ben Nazir. He says it's a halacha. This is the halacha by Nazir. So amtu lahachi stumanin mufurashin lo. That's why you can say if the money is stuman, you haven't designated what money is going for what carbon. That's allowed. That the halacha says you can use it now for carbon ola. But mufurashin, if you already designated this money is for the chatas, it can't be used for that purpose. And that's just the halacha as the tradition has said. Elul Reish Lakish, but according to Reish Lakish, who says it's a pasuk, l'chol nidreim u'l'chol nidvosam. It just comes from this pasuk of l'chol nidreim u'l'chol nidvosam. So my area is stumen. So why do we say it only applies to money that's stumen, that hasn't been designated specifically for which carbon? Afilu mufurashin, even if it is explicit which carbon it's going to, you should still learn the same thing from the pasuk. Rashi says, El Reish Lakish, the mapikle minkra. Reish Lakish, who learns it from a pasuk, Ma'ir Yastumin. Afilu mefurashin. Why do you have to say stumin, even mefurashin? Kaven de meis, havale moser. It's already considered moser because the guy died. Why should it be that the money for the carbon chatas goes to the Yam HaMelach? Why should that be the case? We should be able to use the money learned from the pasuk. Afilu mefurashin. And so the Gemara says, Amar Rava says, Mefurashin lo matzes amrit. You're not able to say that the money that's Mefurashin, you can't say that can possibly be used for donation to the Beis HaMikdash for communal karbonos. Kvar paska tanad vei Rabbi Yishmael. There's already a ruling by the Tana of the Yeshiva of Rabbi Yishmael that it has to go lamisa, that this money that's designated for carbon chatas can't be used for anything, and it comes from the following Tana of Rabbi Yishmael. The pasuk says, Rak kadashecha asher yu lecha unidarecha. It talks about your holy things, your vows. Rashi over here says, Rak kadashecha asher yu lecha mihein osan kodshim shein achshav v'asidim l'hamid acherim tachteim. We're talking about kodshim which there's going to be other kodshim coming from that kodshim. Shariva hakasav asher yu lecha. That's what it means, asher yu lecha, that will be to you. Havayomer valde kodshim u'tmurasim. We're talking about either the children of animals that are karbanos. Some karbanos can be females, some can only be males. The karbanos, which can be females, have these children. They also have a certain kedusha. Tmurasan, also the substitute animals for animals which have kedusha. Umahin takanasim kamosha nemer le'achrav. This is what the Talmud of Rabbi Yishmael will say. What do you do with these particular animals? Again, rakod ashecha asher yu lechonederecha bevalde kodshim uv'tmurasam hakasim medavid. The pasuk is speaking about the vlad kodshim, the child of an animal that's a carbon, or the substitute of an animal. And matakanasan, what's the solution with these animals? Tisa uvasa el makom asher yivchar Hashem. You have to take them up to the Beis HaMikdash. Rashi says, Tiso vasa la makom shaloshino ben akasim mishar kachim. They're not different than other kachim. Sha'olim el makom, they go to the Beis HaMikdash, k'dichsib b'parshas Vayikra, im ola karbonu min abakar zachar tam yakrivenu, el pesach o al moed, you bring it to the ol moed if it's an ola, v'chein kasab bezivchei shlamim, the same thing is true by shlamim, by ola and shlamim, Tiso vasa la makom, asher yivchar Hashem. And the Brisa continues, Yachol Ya'alim Leveis HaVechira V'yimna Mehem Ma'ayim Umazon B'shvil Sheyamusu. You might think what the pasuk means is bring them to the Beis HaMikdash, but don't give them water, don't give them food, allow them to die. Talmud Lomar, the pasuk says, V'yasisa Olosecha HaBasar V'Hadam, that you should make it a carbon ola. Lomar Lach, to tell you, Kederach Shata Noig Ba'ola Noig B'Tumurasa, the same that you do by the carbon ola, do with its substitute. There cannot be a Vlad, there can't be a child by carbon ola because it's a Zachar, it's a male. Kederach Shata Noig B'Shlamim Noig B'Valdehem, and the same thing is true when it comes to a shlamim. What you do with the carbon shlamim, you do with their child, the child animal of the carbon shlamim. Again, by carbon shlamim, you could have, it's a female, and so therefore you could have a vlad. And then the Brisa says, Yachol af vlad chatas utmuras asham kain. I might think even the child of a chatas, or the substitute of an asham, maybe those also have the kedusha, and you bring them to the Beis HaMikdash as the karbonos. Talmud lomar rak. That's what the pasuk says when it says rak only over here. It's only going to be by an ola and shlamim. Divrei Rabbi Shmuel, that's the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel, and that is the source of what we are looking for over here. The source that when it comes to a carbon chatas, so by the substitute, or if you have money that was designated for a carbon chatas and the owner died, in those cases it has to go lemisa, it has to go to death. You're not able to bring it to use it for karbanos. That's learned from this pasuk over here. And the Brisa continues, Rabbi Akiva Omer, Rabbi Akiva says, Einot Sarach, you don't need the pasuk that Rabbi Shmuel brought. Specifically, Rabbi Akiva is talking about Asham, as we'll see in a moment. Harei Omer, the pasuk says, Asham hu, it says it's an Asham, B'havayaso Yehei, so it has to be as is, and the Gemara will explain exactly what Rabbi Akiva is saying. And the Gemara now analyzes this Brisa. Katani, it says over here, Yachol Ya'alim Lebeis HaVechira V'yimna Mehem Ma'ayim Umazon B'shvil Sheyamusu. It says, I might think that you bring them up to the Beis HaMikdash and you prevent them from having water and food in order that they die. Talmud Lomar V'yasisa Olo Secha. Pasuk says V'yasisa Olo Secha. So first the Gemara asks, why do we need this pasuk to tell us this? Havlad chatas hu degmir b'misa. We already have a pasuk that says that it's only by the vlad chatas, the child of the chatas, that goes to death. So it's obvious that's not the case when it comes to the carbon ola. Why do you need a specific pasuk by carbon ola that I might have thought? Why might you have thought that you should allow them to die? And the Gemara answers, Ilav kro havamina vlad chatas b'chol makom. If not for the pasuk, I might have said the following: when it comes to a vlad chatas, that you allow to die anywhere, you don't bring it to the Beis HaMikdash. Maybe it's a different kind of misa. In other words, that's what I would have thought, a different kind of misa. When it comes to the ola, only the chatas is allowed to die anywhere. When it comes to the ola, you bring it up to the Beis HaMikdash to die. This is what I might have thought. We'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf 25a Amud Beis.